Hi. So, I was reading a bedtime story to my son recently, The Ugly Duckling. You might be familiar with it. We have a particularly brutal early reading version of it where where the duckling is a baby swan. It's a cygnet, but it gets hatched in a duck's nest, and the mother duck and then various other animals tell it, "You're ugly, go away." And so this poor little cygnet, who's a perfectly adorable baby swan, um, goes along being told they're ugly until eventually they've grown up into a swan. They see their reflection in the water near a bunch of other swans and realise that they're not an ugly duckling, they're a beautiful swan. And I couldn't help but think, whilst I was reading this story, what a good analogy it is for neurodivergence and why labels matter. People will say, oh, why do you need the label of ADHD or autistic? And I think this is why, because if you walk around thinking you're an ugly duckling because you don't match the standards of a duckling, because you're not a duckling, you're a cygnet, then you're going to grow up like the cygnet, the ugly duckling does, sad and lonely and kind of ashamed that you don't meet the standards, that you're not able to, have lovely yellow feathers, you've got white feathers, you don't have a lovely orange beak, you've got a black beak. But knowing, if the ugly duckling had known from the start, I'm not an ugly duckling, I'm just a cygnet, I'm a different thing, they might have had a different journey. And as soon as, they see the swans, they think, what beautiful swans, they're great. And then they realise that they are one of them and they feel happy and they find belonging and they're not trying to be a duck, they're being a swan. Because some birds are ducks, some birds are swans, and knowing what you are and accepting that is really important. And I think that that's how online communities can quite often help. There's a lot of ugly ducklings, or undiagnosed, late diagnosed, don't know anybody else, neurodivergent people who come online and they see these beautiful swans, they see this autistic joy presented on social media, they see ADHD love and embracing those traits, embracing the perceived weaknesses, understanding the strengths and seeing the beauty, and they realise that they're not this failed duckling, that they were a swan all along, and then they can spread their wings and fly.